What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz podcast here on this Monday morning. Glad to have everybody join us here to get your week started, and glad to have Jason Caldwell with us every single Monday morning. And Jason, good to see you this morning. And we'll start by letting you tell everybody how they can catch up with you guys at 24/7 and Auburn Undercover.
Yeah, obviously, a lot going on as kind of race towards the end of the regular season in basketball, and Nathan King, lead coverage on Auburn basketball and has done a great job. But we all kind of chip in there. Patrick Bingham doing a great job and helping out and doing some of that stuff as well. So a lot of stuff with basketball, but baseball, softball ramping up, football as we get ready towards March, where the dead period ends. They'll start to have some official visits. So you can find all this stuff going on at auburnundercover.com or part of the 24/7 network.
Jason, let's dive into it. Got a lot to talk about here on this Monday morning. Obviously, we've got the finals going on in Birmingham. I'll be over there all week, and we'll be covering that. Our crew gets started this morning at 9 a.m., and we'll go till Saturday late night. It feels like a trip to Vegas. You walk in Legacy Arena early in the morning. There's no clocks. You don't know if it's daylight or dark or if it's storming or whatever, and you just locked in. And it's a lot of great basketball. I know you love being able to come up when you can and cover the event, but we want to encourage people to get up to Birmingham if they have never been to that tournament before. It's really, really a lot of fun and a lot of great basketball, both on the girls and the boys side. Let's talk about Auburn basketball. Janai Broome goes off in this game. I said to my son, we were at the game, and he looks over at me and he goes, "Hey, Janai's got 29." And I went, it just didn't say, it was just one of those, that's the quietest 29. He ended up with 31, but he just got it done. And, one of those things that's what he's capable of doing if you want to run the offense through him on any given night. And, I think Auburn and Coach Pearl try to, do a lot of different things and not just rely on him. But, the guy got it done. To me, that may have been a Heisman-type moment for a basketball player, as dominant as he was in this game against Georgia.
Yeah, and I think you look at it, and this Auburn team is unique in that they don't have to have a bunch of guys draining threes and doing all that stuff to be successful. Now, when you do that, it makes you really tough to beat. But Saturday, Auburn was just 6 of 22 from three. And so you go, how do you withstand a night when you don't shoot it well from the perimeter? And Auburn has the ability to drop the ball inside and play through Janai Broome. And, Janai didn't start very well, but I think it was perfect second half, made 7-11 free throws. You look at that, and it's just the ability to win in different ways. You have to be able to do that because every game in the NCAA tournament, you're not going to look up at, it's like this Alabama team. Every game in the NCAA tournament, you're not going to look up and it's not going to be 100-89. Sooner or later, you're going to have to win a game in the 70s. Somebody's going to slow it down. The shot's not going to fall. How do you deal with that? And I think Auburn with Janai Broome has been able to do that. I think he's starting to get a little bit healthier each and every time out, which is a big deal for this team. I still don't think he's 100%.
But he looked as close to 100% as we've seen in a while.
He's getting better, and that's good news for this team. And so I think the better he starts to get, the better he starts to feel. You're able to do a few more things on the offense. We see he continues to step out and knock down some threes and make some shots. And so all those things contribute to being able to win a game where, once again, you have to kind of, suck it up at the end and find a way to win. I went back and looked. I think all but 4 or 5 games in SEC play this year have been single-digit games,
right,
in 5 or 6 minutes left. And so you've had to finish games over and over again. That's a great trait to be able to have as a basketball team, is to be able to finish games out and win them.
I want to talk about a moment there in the game where we had a little tussle. It's like that woke Auburn up. And I don't want to say, and I just heard a lot of people talking and reading a lot of different things. And you kind of get the vibe that, and I don't think the team is complacent at home, but sometimes you get comfortable at home because I attribute it like Jason. You go over to somebody's house and you don't, when you go to somebody else's house, you kind of, you don't just go over there and flop down on the couch and roll around on the floor and, go in the cabinets and pull stuff out of the kitchen. You kind of respect that area. So you're a little bit more attuned to what's going on at home. You can let your hair down a little bit. You're relaxed. You don't have to be prim and proper. And, you're a little bit more in your comfort zone. And I think Neville Arena, that's a good thing. Neville Arena has become a comfort zone, but it just seems like we've played a little bit better on the road lately than we have at home. And, it could be a little bit of that kind of creeps in, but it looks that moment where the little tussle between Denver Jones and Damari and, really wasn't much to it, but that was like, okay, that got Auburn rejuvenated, and it kind of led to the way they finished the game.
Yeah, and I think some of it too. We talked about it. I think it's like I think there's a little bit more pressure at home. I think
I agree with that too.
I think you feel like you have to go out and perform, and you need to do all these things at home. And sometimes when you go on the road, it's that kind of us against the world mentality. I think you can go, hey, circle the wagons. It's just us. Let's go out and play. You have some fans there, but you're not going to have more fans than the opposing team does. And so I think that's been a big part of it too. But yeah, I mean, every team's different. And I think, we've seen teams in the past be really good at home and then struggle on the road. I'd much rather have a team that can go on the road and win.
That's what it's going to take in NCAA.
That's right, because you're going to go into places as the 1 seed. You're going to go into just about every game. Now, if Auburn plays in Atlanta, you'll have the majority of fans there if you can make it to the second round.
But still, everybody pulls against the 1 seed.
Everybody pulls against the 1. So every other school there is going to be pulling for the other team. And so, yes, so it is going to be us against the world mentality for Auburn basketball from here on out. You've had not only being the number 1 team for the majority of the season, but you've also had Chad Baker-Mazar and other guys who are guys that teams and fans like to root against. So not only do you have that, you're going to have that kind of lightning rod guy on your team as well. Auburn's going to go into most of these situations. Hey, in Nashville, you're going to go into a situation where people are going to go, hey, I want somebody to beat that team. And so I think for Auburn, that's going to be a valuable part of this is like you've experienced this all season long, having to be the hunted rather than the hunter. And, they've gotten pretty good at that role.
Jason, some comments coming in for you. Justin said, loved the interviews Ronnie and Nathan are doing with Jay Jacobs and Terry Bowden. So a lot of people tuning in for that. And then he wants to know, how do you feel about the SEC tournament and resting players that aren't 100%? I was going to get to the SEC tournament here in just a minute, so let's just go ahead and jump into that since Justin, and welcome, Faith. Glad to have you jump in with us here as we got rolling at 8. Jason, just kind of your thoughts on the SEC tournament. Philosophy is different depending on where you're seated and depending on what you've done. And if you're a team coming in on the bubble, you want to get a couple of wins. So it's a little bit different approach. If you're the number 1 seed, it's kind of like, man, we got to get ready to go into March. I mean, this is the most important thing. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think we've seen it the past few years. Not only from a seeding standpoint, does it not really matter? I don't think even from a momentum standpoint it matters, because we looked, Auburn couldn't have had much more momentum than it had last year coming out of the SEC tournament and losing the first round. And so I think each individual team is different. If Auburn were to wrap up the regular season, you get it done, that you're going to be the overall 1 seed, then I go into the SEC tournament going, look, I want to play my rotation, probably let Janai Broome ease off some minutes in Nashville, play some more of my guys. And if you happen to win and you get to Saturday and then you go, okay, then we'll go kind of make a run. But I'm not expending a bunch of guys in an effort to win the SEC tournament, in my opinion. Now, it's important. It's a big deal. But if I'm winning the regular season, I'm going to be the overall number 1 seed, and what happens in Nashville doesn't really matter, then I'm not going to exert my team up there because it's been a long regular season. And so I think because of the grind that you've already gone through, being able to get off your feet for a little while and get some extra days, which you'll have. You're not going to have to play till Friday. So you're going to have almost a week off anyway. But I think much like football, we talked about this before. I don't think the SEC championship game of football is going to matter much anymore. And we've already seen in basketball, other than being able to hang that tournament side banner,
Right.
It doesn't really have much of an impact.
Justin, we're going to get to baseball here in just a little bit. We're going to finish up with basketball, and we are going to dive into. We're going to let Jason kind of recap the weekend. Auburn swept this weekend, and we'll talk some softball too. Faith, you and I both were at the game Saturday. Again, thought the atmosphere was great. A lot of people were like, it's kind of. I don't think so. I think the game again kind of was a lull at the beginning, and then Auburn scored 53 points in the second half, and the crowd was a big part of that and rejuvenating Auburn there in the second half and getting behind the team. Didn't you think so?
No, absolutely. It was definitely the second half was more exciting, I feel like, for the crowd to be involved than the first half. And then those last 2 minutes, it just felt like the game was never going to end. It was going to be a 40-minute last 2 minutes. And the people around us were all talking about it and just kind of giving some little commentary, and it was funny. But yeah, it was definitely so much fun.
Jason, I get tired of the reviews. I know there's certain times that you have to have a review, but this review stuff is killing the flow of the game. Look, positive or negative for whatever team. I mean, if it's us that are benefiting from the reviews, that's fine. But I'd just rather not have them. It just became it was non-existent. Now it's let's review everything.
I think it needs to be what happens now in baseball and softball. You get a number of them, and the team chooses when they want to review it, and you go, then because here's my other part of it. It's always driven me crazy. We saw it happen. I think at the end of the Final Four game, a few years back, where they go to the camera and start to go, we're going to put 0.2 of a second back on the clock. Well, why are those 0.2 of a second more important with 1:58 than they are with 12 minutes and 58 seconds? They're still the same 0.2 of a second.
Absolutely.
Okay, so either we're going to let officials call a game. I think it needs to be 3. You get 3 challenges. If you win your challenge, then you get to keep it. Just like baseball. If you lose it, it's gone. But you have to select, okay, is this important enough for me to go challenge this play? And then you challenge it. And to me, I think, because we can't have 12 stoppages a game to figure out who the ball went off of when the game was scores 78-30. We don't need to be reviewing a basketball play to see what happens. Just make a call and go with it.
No, I couldn't agree more. It breaks the flow of the game. And then, like you said, at the time and the situation, is it a blowout? Is it close? I mean, there are points in a game that determine, if it's needed or not. And then if it's not, let's just use some freaking common sense, man. I mean,
college basketball games should not be lasting 2.5 hours.
No, some are 3. I mean, over 3 hours.
It's on the regular right now that is 2.5 hours. You're like, we're going to have a game at 6 and have a game at 8. Well, the game at 8 is going to start on ESPN News or something. It's not going to start at 8 o'clock on the channel it's supposed to. And so get some flow back. And again, much of the stoppage in play now is because you get Pat Adams and crew walking over to the monitor time and time again.
Does anybody like that guy?
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry.
They're all now to the point where it's just you have to go to hey, the job's difficult. They're going to make mistakes. That's the hard part about this now is because of these reviews and over again, it makes them look even worse.
It does.
Just make calls, go with it. You know what? They're going to miss calls, but you got to keep the game moving. And if you think it's that important, challenge it and move on. But we can't keep going just 10 or 12 deep and going, hey, let's just stop it again.
Faith.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say it makes them look even worse because time and time again, it's just that the call is going to go the other way from what they originally called it. Or when they go back after something's already happened and they go back, and they say something happened at 16, 43, and then the clock is at 14, 24 or whatever. And it's like, you're going back. I know, like, it was a media timeout or whatever it was. And it's like, I know, but there was something that happened just a second. Like, it ruins everything because you're going back so far. And it's just like, why is that like a big deal of what's actually going on? I don't know. It's ruining the flow of the game.
Are they doing that, Jason, to not stop it at that moment? Because like if there's a foot on, like, I hate that too. I mean, because you think you've got a point and then they take a point off or whatever, they add a point later on, which is a big deal. I mean, a point here and there is a big deal, especially in basketball. But I think they're stopping it so daggum much. They're like, okay, let's play through that. And at the next stop of play, we'll go back and review it. But again, it's another review.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing like goaltending. Those are these be things that'll be buzzed in from Birmingham where they're going, hey, we think we need to look at this the next time out. So, in reality, it actually helps to not stop the game again when you're talking about all the breaks that we have. But yeah, there's so much that has to get cleaned up and fixed. But it has to start with limiting the amount of times guys go to the monitor. I mean, they're watching TV more than people sitting at home are at the moment. So it's gotten to a point now where you have to figure out a way to streamline this as much as possible.
Yep. All right. You said, I read where we can lose 2 games here and still win the regular season. Is that true or false? Jason, it's going to make, if here's the deal. We all thought 14 games, 15 would definitely win the conference. Here's the deal, and you correct me if I'm off on this. If Auburn beats Ole Miss on Wednesday, I mean, and gets to that point where, I mean, you're really putting the pressure on the teams behind Auburn to play perfect basketball at that point.
Yeah, basically what you're looking at right now is
they've got to win out basically to have a chance.
Well, there's no tie in terms of SEC regular season. Now, if you were to tie with Florida, you'd still both be a regular season champion, but Florida would get the 1 seed in the tournament. That's all
right.
That matter.
Right.
But yes, I mean, you look right now, and Auburn has a 2-game lead, I believe.
They're 13. Yeah, they're 13-1. They've got a 2-game lead over Florida and Alabama.
And those two teams have to play each other. So
Correct.
You know that right now you could lose 2 games, and there's only one other team that could be right there with you. You've lost to one, and you've got to play the other one a second time. And so there's still some things to be decided. But, yes, you would basically force it into a at worst tie situation with one more win and having a couple of games left. I mean, you still got 4 games left.
And 3 really – and look, they're all tough, but 2 of them are going to be real – well, 3. I mean, you got to go to Kentucky, A&M, and you got Alabama coming back to Auburn. So.
Well, and then we were just talking about it. This is an Auburn team that I think the last 4 or 5 times you've been at home, it's been single-digit games inside the last 4 or 5 minutes. Ole Miss is going to be a desperate basketball team. They're going to need a win. And so this would be a win that would cement things for them. They're probably in anyway, but you beat Auburn, and it blows the door open. But, yeah, then you go Kentucky, team that can shoot it, can't play any defense, but they can really shoot it. And then you go Texas A&M, physical. And then Auburn's going to have its hand full. I don't care what happened in Tuscaloosa.
It does not matter.
It's going to be a war because that team can score the basketball. And so you've got 4 very different games. Got 4 challenges ahead, and Ole Miss will be one of those. But you look and got 2-game lead. They've got to play each other. So it's going to be 1 game. There's only going to be 1 team left standing other than Auburn that has fewer than 4 losses. And so you know that's going to happen right now.
It's crazy. In Florida, really, if you look at their schedule, the game you brought up against Alabama is really the only one I see them having a problem with. I mean, they could – I mean, at any given night, I mean, obviously we just saw South Carolina dust Texas. But for the most part, their schedule, they have the easiest of the 3. For us, Alabama and Florida, Florida has the easiest route coming down the end of the schedule.
I think they're at Georgia Tuesday night. That could be a scary game where you're talking about former coach
coaching
against his team, and I mean, Georgia has some talent, but Florida's playing so well. Texas A&M at home.
Right.
A&M's a physical basketball team, so a decent matchup for Florida. But then, the game at Alabama, and then you get Ole Miss at home. And so you look and go, as far as schedules go in this league, it's hard to have much more favorable schedule than that. And you're playing a couple of top 10 teams. But that's life in this league right now.
Absolutely, it is. All right, a couple more. It says Coleman says, how many regular season games do we need to win to clear up the number 1 seed? I mean, if we only lose one more game, Jason,
it's over.
I think it's over.
It's over. Yeah, I think with the number of quad 1 games you would have won, and the schedule that you would have played this year, the question is going to be, how much does human factor in? Because Duke's going to win games by a lot, and I thought Illinois might be a challenge for them, and that was terrible. Duke's playing really well, and that's a really good basketball team, but they're also not being challenged very much. So you have to weigh those two things. They're going to be a 1 seed. They're going to be in the East. And so it's not really going to – for Auburn, the thing you want to do is you want to make sure you're in the South. Whether you're the overall number 1 seed or not,
right.
It doesn't really matter. What you want to make sure is you're the number 1 seed in the South. So if you're 1 or 2, then that's where you want to be, because you want to go where you can go through Atlanta in the Sweet 16, Elite 8. That's a big deal. So that, to me, can you stay on that 1-2 line? I think right now Florida's the biggest one. And to me, that's the biggest threat. If Florida won through this thing without losing another game, and you were to had to play them in the SEC tournament, that's where it might have a little bit of an impact.
And you go back, and I hate to go back, but Faith and I talked about that Florida game for 3 weeks leading up to it. I talked about how that game probably scared me more than anything. And I think you got on here, Jason, and talked about the matchup was terrible. All right, if Auburn had won that game, this would probably be over. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Auburn's 14-0. Then Florida's 9. Florida's got 4 losses at that point, or 3 losses at that point. Alabama's sitting where they are. You really have put it in a difficult situation for any of those teams, and you may have already locked up that number 1 overall seed. I mean, because Florida would be out of the mix. That's how important that game was. And again, you're not going to go undefeated in this league. We knew that, but that was a big loss at home. And I hope it doesn't come back to haunt us when it comes down to what you were just saying, Jason, about the seedings and making sure we stay in the South.
Yeah, and I think for Auburn, if you do what you're supposed to do, in which you look at the games that you have left. I think Alabama's probably the most toss-up, even though it's at home. Kentucky has not played very well, but Auburn has not played very well at Rupp Everett. Reed Arena's a tough place to play, but A&M's, I honestly think it's a better matchup this year than it has been in past years.
I agree with that.
And then Ole Miss just went home. And so you look and you go, if you still do what you should do, then it shouldn't matter, for this team. Go out, take care of business, play well. Here's the thing about it. This Auburn team has done what it's done. And if I think back, I cannot remember the last time where I went, yeah, I think that Auburn team played pretty close to its capabilities. I don't remember the last time that happened. And they're still winning. This team has not gone out and gone, hey, we're going to knock down a bunch of threes. We'll play well. You had a couple of those games, but you didn't have Broome healthy.
Right.
It's been a long time. I mean, probably since Missouri, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, those early season games where I felt like, and that's what this Auburn team's capable of. They haven't really played that way, and they're still winning. Can you find it again? I think they can, but that's a great sign right now is that this team has not, people are like, well, did you peak too early? I don't think they peaked at all. Sometimes you might not ever get there, but I don't think this team has peaked to this point. I think they're just winning.
Guys, this was crazy right here. Talking about competition not being the same. When you look at the rankings, this will be 7 weeks in a row now. Auburn will be the number 1 team in the country. But when you look at the rankings, Florida will be 2, Duke 3, Alabama 4. Here's the rankings and the quad 1 records. Auburn's 14-2 against quad 1 teams. Florida's 5-3. Duke is 6-3. Alabama's 9-5. Houston 8-4. Tennessee 9-5. Texas A&M and Iowa State are 6-6 and 6-5. And Texas Tech is 7-4. And St. John's, who everybody's raving about right now, which they're good, they're 3-4 against quad one team. This is so stupid as far as how Auburn is so much better than everybody else in quad one. I mean, 14-2 in quad one wins. That's unbelievable.
It is. And you start looking at the net rankings, and you got to go to 22 to find the first ACC school. Clemson is 22. By the way, Clemson's at 22. Is 4-2 in quad one games, including, and that is a home loss to South Carolina. South Carolina, who won its first SEC game, beat Clemson on the road this year. Illinois is 24, playing really well, but 4-4 in quad one games. And so that's they're 500. To find the next ACC school after those three, of course, Duke's up there. SMU is 39, which is crazy that is an ACC school. But they're 39, and they're 0-5 in quad one games. That's it. That's the next school. And so the difference in the strength of schedule and the challenges that you've had to face. Duke played some non-conference games early in the year, and I think specifically scheduled Illinois because they knew the league wasn't going to be very good, and they needed this game, and then Illinois turned out to be not very good. And so because of that was a big – I mean, Illinois is still 20 – I mean, that's 23. But Illinois is 6-10 in quad one games, and so that hasn't been a great team. It's a massive difference. But even in this league, because of Auburn's non-conference, because you played Houston, and because you went to the Maui Invitational, because you played at Duke, the difference in the quad one games you've had just outside the league was enough to separate Auburn, much less what you've done in the league.
Faith, Janai Broome, 31 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists. No other player has reached those totals against a Division I team this season. Did Janai Broome, in your opinion, lock up national? I know we got a lot of basketball left to play, but when I just read off a 14-2 record against quad one teams, and you saw what Duke's record was against quad one teams, and the schedule toughness for Auburn, and that's what he's done. That's what he can do on any given night. But Auburn kind of spreads it around, so we don't have to rely on him. But if we do, he can go get 31 and 14. Is he the National Player of the Year in your opinion?
Yes, I think the only argument that people will have is that Cooper Flagg is a freshman, and Janai has been here for so long and had so much more time to develop. I think the only argument people will have is that Cooper Flagg is a freshman who's able to put up the numbers he's doing as a freshman. That's the only argument. Well,
let's give him Freshman of the Year. And let's give Janai Broome Player of the Year, because I
think I'm with you. I think he deserves Player of the Year. I do. He's been hurt for a couple games, and he wasn't able to put out what we obviously have been able to see that he can. But he was still putting up. He was scoring the most points and getting double-doubles each night. It was just we know that wasn't what his full potential was, and he comes back on Saturday and does what he normally does. And I think yes, he deserves it. But I think the only argument other people will have against that is his age.
Jason, do you think again, Cooper Flagg's a great talent, but Janai Broome, he has developed. If you go back and look at pictures of him at Morehead State and look at him now, he's a different human being. And he's expanded his game. He's worked on his game. You just think about the minutes too. I mean, Cooper Flagg is heavily relied on. You take Cooper Flagg off that Duke team, they're not even the same team. So that might be an argument for some people too. They go, well, Auburn can win without Janai Broome. Duke can't win without Cooper Flagg. But Janai Broome could also get probably 6, 7, 8 more minutes a game, but he doesn't. That's just not Bruce Pearl's style. I mean, just think of the numbers he could be putting up if he had been averaging 35 minutes a game or something to that level.
Yeah, I think it's really a shame because Cooper Flagg's really good. And so you got two guys that are both deserving, in my opinion, and for different ways and for different reasons.
I agree.
The questions you're going to have is what is this award about? Is this about a college basketball player, or is it about the guy you think he's the best player? Cooper Flagg is going to be the first pick. So most people around the country will go, well, that's the best player. But we're not talking about the NBA. We're talking about college basketball.
Right.
And so we've seen that over and over again. How do you judge it? And in terms of college basketball and impact, I think, Janai Broome has played his way into, to me, being the college player of the year, because I think Auburn has done it against the toughest schedule. Would I be shocked if Cooper Flagg wins player of the year? I wouldn't. No, because he's gotten a ton of attention. He's getting a ton of attention because he's going to be the first overall pick. So he's going to have that kind of NBA side of things too, I think. It's a shame because you get two guys that are clearly head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of deserving. Normally you'll have a guy, maybe there'll be two or three guys. This year, I mean, it's not even close. There's not even a third. And so it's a shame that somebody's going to have to miss out on that this year.
Yeah, it is. I can split the difference, guys. I've got the solution. Cooper Flagg, freshman of the year. Janai Broome, player of the year.
He's going to be freshman. He's going to be freshman of the year. Just
right.
Is it both?
That's what I'm saying. We don't need two awards, Jason. Let him just have one, and then Janai can have player of the year. All right, Jason. I know you got to get off. Let's talk real quick before you go about baseball. Baseball gets the sweep yesterday. Again, the thing that concerns me, and I'll let you kind of go into it. Still walking too many people. And I think we had 7 yesterday. And you get into SEC play, you and I both know how detrimental that can be. So good effort. I mean, it looks like we're hitting the baseball really well. And of course, some of the senior leaders, some of these freshmen that are in here, I know Bub's playing really well right now. But the walks concern me from the mound.
Yeah, and I think yesterday it showed up a little bit more than it had really all week. All week they'd been pretty solid,
right,
in doing that, and it showed up a little bit more the other day. You still look and they kind of a little bit here or there, but 30 walks in 68 innings, and so you're not that bad. So it's 80 strikeouts to 30 walks, and so they've done an okay job with 7 of those being in one game.
One game, yeah.
I thought they've done a pretty solid. Yesterday, I thought just a little bit off. Everybody that came in looked a little bit sluggish, and you've had, and as Butch Thompson said, you had a couple of long weeks for the team itself with everything going on with K. Ballou and losing his mom, and so it's been a little bit of the other grind has been, you finished up a stretch of 8 games in 10 days, and so that can have an impact, probably more on pitching because your legs a little bit too. But they pretty solid. Defensively was really good yesterday, and then Wright State saved the best couple of arms for the final game after the first 2 were blowouts, and so Auburn had to battle against some pretty good pitching. So a lot of depth. Get Kate Fisher back this week and get him back on the mound. Sam Dutton was good. Christian Chatterton, young guy, and Andreas Alvarez has been good. The bullpen's been pretty solid. So kind of figuring out where the pieces fit now as you head into this week. Sanford Tuesday night, and then go to Arlington to face Ohio State, Oregon State, and Baylor for 3 games. So give you a little bit more of a test this weekend. Yeah,
that tournament's going to be really, really awesome to be able to go out and participate in that. And again, you'll kind of have a barometer of where you are and how you're going to be able to be heading into SEC play. The Malvos are off to a phenomenal start with softball. They're 14-1. They dropped the first game in Huntsville to La Tech, and then they win the rest of them. Have a walk-off against Jacksonville State yesterday to end up only losing 1 game. So just off to a tremendous start. And you go down and look at the softball standings, Jason. I think there's 3 or 4 undefeated teams at the top, and then then Auburn's right there, and then it kind of drops off. I think Missouri and Alabama and a few others down there toward the bottom with several losses. But couldn't ask for a better start, man. And it's great to see the offense return to this team.
Yeah, and they play pretty well so far. And obviously, when you jump in this league, challenges are ahead. I think Auburn has Mississippi State, Texas A&M, right, Texas, Florida to start the first 4 series. All of those are ranked, and I think 3 of them are in the top 10. So it's going to be a rough start after, the good thing is you got off to a good start. So
right.
can you find a way to win a few games here or there early in the season to get you into the league? But yeah, much better positioning and a much better start than they've had in quite a while.
Jason, we really appreciate you being on, brother. Every Monday, give everybody your information on how they can subscribe to 24/7 and Auburn Undercover.
Yep, just like I said, check us out, auburnundercover.com, a part of the 24/7 network. Find us on YouTube as well. All the videos, post-game pressers, all that stuff you can find there. So come check us out.
Do a great job as always, Jason. We'll talk to you Friday, okay?
Thanks, appreciate it.
Jason.
I appreciate you too, buddy. Jason Caldwell there. Good morning, Faith. Good to see you. Glad you jumped on in with us. And it'll give us an opportunity to talk about Sensa Green. For air that's cool and clean, call on Sensa Green, the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama, proud supporters of Auburn athletics and the Auburn Blitz podcast. Couldn't do the show without them. Scout Program Management, full service construction management firm located in Birmingham, Alabama. You and I will get to go hang out with those guys coming up this week up in Birmingham. So excited about being able to go by and see the guys at Scout Program Management. So any of you out there, if you're with a school or an education organization and you're looking for a renovation project or anything like that, hire Scout Program Management. They'll carry you from start to finish, and they'll take care of everything for you. And then Bunkers, located on West Glen. I think they had a great crowd this weekend, Faith. One of our favorite places to go. I know I say that every time. The Bunkers in downtown Auburn on West Glen, plenty of places to park, great food, awesome bar, building another bar. That one was so awesome they had to build another one. So Sensa Green, Scout, and then Bunkers. We appreciate them. We'll get to some more of those others as Faith yawns this morning. She looks like she's off to a tired start this morning, Faith.
It's Monday, that's for sure.
It's Monday. Hey, we got a busy day ahead.
We do.
We got a lot going on. So
I know. It's just texted with Maddie. We're going to carpool to Alexander City. So.
There you go. Well, good for y'all. So
yeah.
There you go. Being conservative, saving. Don't that way both of you don't have to burn gas, right?
There you go. Hey, got my oil changed.
There you go. That's really the biggest news for everybody that's tuned in. She got her oil changed this weekend after a year and 2 months. So everybody should be proud that her car didn't completely blow up and that you're good to go. So all checked out well.
Yeah, they said it was great.
That's the most. If that's not the best advertisement for a Toyota 4Runner, I don't know what else you need to call Toyota and say, I did a test on your vehicle. I went an entire year and didn't change the oil in this thing, and man, it's just rocking and rolling.
They even called me and said that I've kept my my car in such good shape they want to buy it and trade it out. Which I know they say that about a lot of cars, but still, it made me feel really good after a year of not.
If they only knew what that car had been through, they would renege on that offer. Let me tell you. All right, I want to talk about a couple more things before we get off this morning. And Justin brings up, if Auburn wins the regular season, Janai's Player of the Year, Bruce's Coach of the Year. We have been hosed in this conference the last few years with players making either first or second team all SEC or not making a team at all. And Bruce Pearl has had a chance to be Coach of the Year a couple of times, and he's just been hosed on that award too. So I'm hoping, again, this is 7 consecutive weeks Auburn will be number 1 in the country. I'm hoping, Faith, that's going to garner the media for whatever bias they've had in the past or perceived bias or whatever. That will be eliminated because both of those guys really deserve the accolades. I think we're so close here now to finishing. I mean, when we go back and we'll look at these standings again, but I mean, we are so daggum close sitting here at 13-1. And if Auburn takes care of business against Ole Miss, they'll be 14-1 with 3 games left to play. That you just want to finish this thing really strong. Now, it's not all about the regular season. You want to finish strong, but you want to, at this point in time, you want to you want to just put the nail in the coffin because you've done it's such a gauntlet. You'd hate to lose 2 out of your last 3 or kind of fizzle right here going into tournament play.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think it's definitely Ole Miss coming in needs to be a win no matter the circumstances. We've had kind of that slow burning game against Arkansas and then Georgia on Saturday where it was just kind of what is happening. Georgia never had a lead.
You weren't as ill Saturday as you were against Arkansas. I'll let everybody know that.
Yeah, no, I definitely wasn't.
Your text messages weren't as violent as the ones. Now they got that. It started to get that way. Now mine are always violent. You know that. So you just blow what I say off. But I can tell the level of frustration as the game goes on. If it's not going the way we want it, your text messages get a little bit.
There was one second where I had to turn my brightness down and kind of lean over my phone and be like,
"Yeah, we're showing."
But no, I mean, other than that, it was a good game. And I keep wanting to say yesterday. On Saturday,
it feels like yesterday.
Yeah, it does. But on Saturday, it was definitely a game where I was put it in Janai's hand. Just put it in his hand, and I'm going to feel comfortable with what's going on.
And they did that, which is awesome.
They did. It's almost like telepathy was going on with Coach Pearl. So that was awesome. But yeah, we've got to take. Yeah, Auburn didn't cover, Glenn. That was at the beginning of the season. Bruce was making sure that Auburn would cover each game, and the more season that's been happening, it's not happening ever. So,
well, we're starting to see a change in. I didn't even get a chance to talk about that. There's several things, Faith, we can talk about here, and we can talk some more tomorrow about this. We don't have to squeeze it all into today, but if you look at the box score on Saturday and everybody goes, well, where was Chaney Johnson? Well, Chaney Johnson got into foul trouble early. And when you look at it from a standpoint of, he was non-existent in this game. 11 minutes, he was 2 for 2. But outside of that, he had to sit on the bench most of the game. So we saw a little bit more Jaheim Hudson and Chris Moore. And then when you look at the minutes, though, Janai Broome had the most. I think this is maybe the most minutes he's had. 36 minutes. Miles Kelly had 36 minutes. Denver Jones, 23. He was in foul trouble a lot, but Bruce was trying to sub him in and out as much as possible. Chad Baker-Mazar had 33 minutes. You had a lot more guys in the 30-plus minute category because you had some guys in foul trouble.
Okay, I'll say one thing about Chaney Johnson is I was telling this to Reese when we were sitting there, and he looks like he is just the nicest guy, so sweet and so soft-spoken and everything.
Right.
And I'm looking up, and he's got 3 fouls, and we're not even in the second half. He doesn't look like the type that is doing anything insane trying to get a foul. And I feel like half the time, some of his fouls are just not that they're not.
No, they're stupid. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
Bubba just said it. You got to stop fouling. And Bruce said it in the post-game press. You got to stop fouling 40 feet from the basket. You got to quit having tic-tac fouls. You got to be able to be better than that because they've got to have him on the floor.
He just doesn't look like the kind that's going to have 4 fouls by the end of the night.
He's just not playing smart basketball. You when you reach around and you try to get a steal.
Okay, but here's the thing that happened in Georgia. When you're saying reach around and everything, how many times did you look up on the video board and see that number 5 or that number 6 sitting there, literally going like this, like reaching around, doing anything on either Janai or
I agree. No, I agree.
And every single time. And of course,
Chaney's a target. He just somehow is a magnet for fouls. And I agree. And by the way, whoever runs the video board for Auburn on the replay, they need to step their game up. They're always 3 plays behind. Like everybody around me is like, can we see what just happened? We don't want to see the dunk from 4 plays ago.
And we know that's possible because football does it. So
just please, whoever, just step your game up a little bit. I'm not asking for a lot, but everybody around me was like, can we see what just happened? Like the call that they're looking at. Can we go back and see what happened? They're showing a replay from 3 or 4 plays ago.
I don't want to see the dunk.
My gosh, man. I mean, please. I mean, we know what happened. That was a great highlight. But let's look at what the moment is and why they're at the monitor and what they're looking at. So, all right. So that kind of gets that out of my system a little bit. And so we'll move. Yeah, I feel a little bit better now. Auburn does move on to play Ole Miss. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Faith, in closing out here, because I know we've got a lot to do this morning to get on the road to Birmingham for the finals. A lot going on up there. Want to go ahead and hit up some more of our partners here. Again, Sure Shot in Alexander City. Call them 329-0080, area code 256. All your new and used firearms, they sell, trade them. Long guns, handguns, whatever it is that you're looking at for, all your hunting apparel. Turkey season's around the corner. They've got all that in stock now, and then all your different ammo for all the different types of shotguns that you need for turkey season is there. So just call on Sure Shot in Alexander City, right there on Highway 280. Make sure you go check them out. Great people. Can't say enough about them and what they do for our program. And then Oliver Ross, a full service bartending service for your parties, your events, your gatherings, no matter how big or small. Call on Oliver Ross. Check them out on Instagram or Facebook. You can book them directly through that. And so go out there and find them on social media. Licensed and insured bartenders. Don't hire some Joe Blow to come serve at your party and they screw it all up. Have nicely dressed professional bartenders that come in and make you look like the superstar when your guests come over. So hire Oliver Ross. We couldn't do the show without them as well. All right, Faith. Closing out here, we'll talk some more about Auburn basketball tomorrow. The women just couldn't get it done against Alabama. Had a 16-point lead and then ended up losing by 16. I mean, just not been a pretty year for Auburn women's basketball. So we'll talk some more about that tomorrow too. Get you set for the matchup with Ole Miss on Wednesday there. Yeah, Justin, I'll be glad to eat some of the rubber chicken that will be back there in the hospitality room in Legacy Arena. I think Faith and I are going to go find us something else after we get done. I'm not going to be subjected to the rubber chicken today. Again, I'm not ungrateful. I don't take that the wrong way if somebody's watching in Legacy Arena and I'm not hammering their food, but we're going to go find something else today. We're filming our On the Road show in Birmingham today at Legacy Arena for the tournament. So it's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. So Faith, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. We got to get on the road. You and Maddie be safe heading up to Alex City. Okay.
Will do.
All right. Everybody have a great, wonderful day, and we'll catch you tomorrow. War Eagle.
War Eagle.